Good morning, West USA. Welcome to another Tuesday morning webinar. I've got a bone to pick with everybody, Todd. After we made a pretty big deal last week, I thought I made it very clear, and there has not been any snacks in the runs. I mean, we're doing great with the Clorox bleach drive and the different offices competing, and that's going tremendous and obviously a great cause. But feeding me is a good cause too. So I want to see which office is going to win and pull ahead because otherwise I'm stuck with bananas in the morning. Yeah, how about just anybody buy me lunch? I appreciate everybody joining us where we're here each and every Tuesday morning to truly help you embrace the entrepreneur within and to help you become more successful in your business. And we appreciate you taking the time each and every Tuesday morning. So with that, let's talk about what we have on tap. We have Todd, our operations officer, here to give us a look at the numbers, what's going on in the real estate market. Mick Bernard is here from Home Street to give us the Home Street's Mortgage Minute. We're going to continue our conversation on my 3-pack on behavioral traits that you must have as a successful real estate agent. And then, of course, we have Jesi Wolnik here for talk about legal issues facing agents. This is the part 1 of a 3-part series. And the more and more I'm talking with, getting out among the offices, the more and more I'm learning that these are the things that agents really need to learn and really need to pay attention to because, it doesn't take much to get a real estate license and to screw with somebody's retirement account. And so you want to make sure that you are doing everything right. And then, of course, Bob will join us with Don't Do Dat with Bob. So with that being said and done, as always, if you have any questions or like copies of any of the slides, please email us at webinar@westusa.com. Todd, what is going on in the real estate market?
Good morning, everyone. Well, we're sitting at 69 days on market for closed inventory. Our month supply is at 2.97, absorption rate at 33.68. Our average list price at 467, average sale price at 271. That's up just a little bit. And our list price to sell price retention sitting at 97.39. We'll take a little more look at this when we get to the second slide. But here, going across the top, we have finally broken the 20,000 listing mark. Unfortunately, in the wrong direction. Pending is sitting at 5,351, closed units at 5,609, which is what's causing our inventory to, we're not taking as many new listings, putting them into MLS, and as a result is the shrinking, the restricting of the MLS market, sitting at 129.3 overall and 69 days for closed inventory. Taking a closer look, if you look on the right-hand side at the bottom, what you're going to see is take a look at the 200 to 299,000 bracket. It's operating at about 77 days on market. So when you hear things like days on market is averaging 129 days, yeah, that's the whole inventory as an average. When you hear that the under $500,000 mark is sitting at 93.88 days, you're saying, okay, that's still an awful lot. You hear us talk about closed inventory at 69 days on market, but take a look at the 200 to 299 market sitting at 77. So looking at all the days on market in those ranges, there's the sweet spot of what's really moving in the marketplace as we're talking. So taking a look at new inventory and looking across the board is how it balances out a little bit. If you multiply 1879 by 4, because we do this weekly, you are not going to get to 10,000 new listings. It's just not going to happen. So again, there's really where the shrinkage is being caused by. Active inventory, as we said, last week we're at 20,158. We're at 19,900, just under 20,000. So we have finally gone into that $19,000 mark. And we're used to, slide your eyes across, we're used to the 24 to 26,000 average inventory. So this is, I don't want to cause panic. However, it's important to know these numbers. This is stereotypical that our inventory falls off this time of year anyway. But again, just to keep you abreast of what's happening and where the sweet spots in the bat are. Under pending, taking a look at pending, we're normally in the summer months somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000. We're now down under 5,500. We're kind of staying in that under 5,500. June was 5,272. Right now we're at 5,351, just a little bit better. But how's that affecting our closed inventory? Well, we're sitting at 5,609. We're still about 2% behind behind last year, same month. Slide your eyes across. We came off of an 8,900 closed unit month in June. And right now we're sitting at 5,600 with only a few days left in the marketplace. So there may be a cooling off. We'll tell you next week as we see the final numbers. Taking a look again across the board, average list prices at 467. Last week there was a bump, which typically means that we're not, we're gaining in upper end inventory. If you slide your eyes across, it's been pretty consistent. So the average list price is going down. That's a good sign overall. Average sales price though is staying about. We've been at 282. We're sitting at 271 right at this particular moment. And what we're really seeing here is, again, a kind of anomalous scenario, a unique scenario in that, when your inventory tightens up, usually you start to see the lid come off the top. And then you usually see interest rates go up to kind of put a little bit of a downward pressure to prevent from inflation. As the prices, you really don't want prices to take off. All of the economic indicators have been saying for the year 2016, we should be averaging somewhere about 5 to 6% overall appreciation at the end of the year, and we're kind of sitting in that 5% right now. So again, don't expect to see prices really take off too much. Sellers at the sale price, list price retention, they're still negotiating about 2%. Almost 3% off the sale price, off the list price. However, again, that doesn't include any of the concessions or anything anybody wants to put into the contract to negotiate. So in this case, I'd say to the victor goes the spoils. Write a good contract, have all the things detailed, and you'll be in good shape. And that's pretty much where we're at, Mike.
All right, appreciate it as always. If you want copies of these slides, and I hear a lot of great things from agents who are actually going through the effort of downloading these slides and using them in presentations. And again, it makes you look more smarter and more educated, whether you are or you're not. It sometimes just the perception is reality. So feel free to download them, get them off the dashboard. And so with that being said, we've got Mick Bernard here from the Bookspan Baker team at Home Street Home Loans. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the market. Summers are so darn short. 1 minute we're talking about, hey, we're just hitting the summer market. And then the next week we're like, okay, we're now in the downturn of the summer market. Exactly. So what's going on?
Well, rates are kind of holding their own. We're going to talk.
We're just going to record that because each week the rates aren't doing anything. Right?
Well, in our presentation today is going to talk about what caused them to fall a little bit. About a month ago, they took a little bit of a dip, and now they're kind of hanging in there. And last week we talked about rates are good, prices are good, but if you continue to have buyers that aren't going to buy and they wait, it's going to cost more money. I mean, that's really kind of the theme of this whole thing is rates are so good right now. It's time. I mean, these rates are being quoted without a loan origination fee, without a discount point. I can tell you that I've locked a couple of loans lower, a little bit lower than this, and one of them dramatically lower than this because surprisingly enough, the agent was able to negotiate some nice seller concessions and we had extra money. Or, I always advise my clients, it's probably not a good investment to pay points if it's your money, but it's always a good investment if it's the seller's money.
I just heard a thing yesterday from a financial planner that said that interest rates haven't been this low since like 1937 or something like that. So
yeah, rates are good. There's no phenomenal, right? I bought my first house in the double digits, right?
Same here.
And
unfortunately, in 1937, no one was drinking alcohol because of the prohibition. So all we could do is focus on interest rates, right?
There you go.
This before. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but
debt to income probably.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it. And so Brexit. 1 month later, let's talk about what's happened to mortgage rates. I like those puzzle pieces that Adam Nelson has put together for me. Shout out to Adam. And so moving into our presentation today, we're going to talk about what's happened, the impact on mortgage rate from Brexit. And if you'll,
well, the only thing I know so far is Great Britain has not sunk. I mean, it's still there. Remember, everybody thought the whole island was going to disappear.
Exactly.
But it's still there.
Exactly. They are still there. And so basically what happened is we thought these interest rates are going to continue to fall. That's what the rumor on the street was. All this money was being poured into U.S. bonds and rates rallied really fast and our stock market rallied. And now when we move on to the next line item, they did fall. But over the last few weeks, they've stabilized. In fact, it looks like they're trying to inch up, but they're really not. They're in that little tight trading range. Once they kind of creep up a tiny bit, they kind of fall right back down again. So what's going to happen eventually, though, is some of these investors are going to want to lock in their profits. They're going to start selling bonds, and that's where some of this money is going to go back over to Europe because they feel safe about their investments overseas again. And then these rates are going to creep up, and we're still predicting that rates next year are definitely going to be higher.
Let's not also mislead our agents and the consumers. Interest rates need to be in that 6%, 6 to 7% range just for a good balanced economy. Great job growth. You have to have, it's not just mortgage loans. So we're, just overall. So yeah, we have to take that into consideration. So now when the interest rates are in the threes, it's just a super time to do business because down the road, buy property, buy investment property right now.
Buying property is the way to go because of those darn low rates. Yeah. And again, the prices, still really, really good down here. And again, the moral of the story, educate your client, explain to them rates are down, all the reasons why I gave earlier, and then let's buy now. I mean, now is the time to list. Now is the time to buy. And hopefully this is a little bit more information for you to share with your clients other than really say, let's buy or let's sell, right? Here are the reasons why. Let me educate you on why you should be listing your house with me today.
Do you think that there's an inherent problem with not only agents, but more so buyers out there? We've seen these rates for so long, and we tell people that they're going to eventually go up and that they need to go up, but nobody really buys it because we're so conditioned. How do we overcome that with our buyers?
I think it's coming up with a history of interest rates, coming up with some charts, explaining to people what their buying power is today. And I think it was 2 weeks ago for our presentation, we talked about just wait until third quarter next year, and based upon a projected increase in interest rates and projected increase in fair market value of property on a 30-year loan, your total payments is going to be more than $80,000 higher than it would be if you purchased that same house today. And so let's show them, show them some graphs or cartoons or something in color that makes them believe. So for some reason, it seems to me when I see something in writing that's presented to me by a true professional, I have a tendency of believing it rather than just having somebody tell me.
I just tell people I Googled it. It was on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we always believe that information. But if you have time, if you take time to make a professional presentation, and many of the agents do that, right? They have a packet. They go through their presentation. I would have some charts in there about interest rates, or give your presentation to your potential buyers. I mean, I can tell you how many agents will tell me, well, yeah, I just met them at the open house, and now they want to go see property. But have you sat down and really educated them on why they should buy a house from you today, as opposed to going and seeing a bunch of other agents and just hearing what they've got to say as well? What can I do to set myself apart from the other agents? That's what I'd be looking for. Create some urgency in these rates and these prices, because just look at home values 4, 5, 6 years ago, right? I mean, we've doubled at least. Right, we've doubled at least. And so again, talk about the Bookspan Baker team difference. Hopefully we make a difference when we come to these webinars and share information on Tuesdays. But definitely want to talk about keeping in touch with you. You'll notice on the left hand side, second one from the top, weekly loan status updates. Today's Tuesday updates. So right now I can tell you in my inbox I probably have about a dozen loan status updates for my client for loans that I haven't processed. All the listing agents get them. All the buyer's agents get them. You don't have to ask for them. Tomorrow, if a loan gets approved, you're going to get another loan status update saying now this loan is approved and here's your current update. You don't have to ask for updates. They automatically come out. And that's typically, the agents tell me that's a good feeling to know that they're going to know exactly what's happening with the status of their loan.
Well, at the end of the day, communication is key. Our clients expect that of us. And in return, we expect it of our lenders, title companies, whoever we use. And it's just nice to know. I mean, at the very least, you guys bring so much value to the table. But I hate having to go to my buyers and say, I don't know, can't get a hold of the lender, I don't have an update. And you guys eliminate that by constant and clear and articulated information and communication. So appreciate it. Feel free to visit the Bookspan Baker team at our various offices. If you got a client that speaks Espanol, you can handle that.
We can.
You personally. You don't
I just
had
like somebody I talked
Spanish.
to. I talked to somebody Sunday afternoon. They were hard. It was hard for us to communicate. And I said, Nick, how about if I have my bilingual loan officer contact you tomorrow? boom, they understood what that meant. And so turned it over to Horry, called him yesterday to do the pre-qual. That's just definitely the way to go. He's totally bilingual with that information. So thanks very much for having me.
All right. Appreciate it, Mick. As always, stop by and chat with them. If you got clients, got any questions about what you can do as an agent, marketing to your agents, they will definitely help you as well. So we're going to continue a conversation that we have. Part of being a real estate agent is understanding and embracing the fact that we have chosen an industry that is specifically designed for those with the entrepreneurial mindset to succeed in. We are business owners. We are CEOs. So we are going to continue the behavioral traits that you must have as a successful real estate entrepreneur. And the first one is, it should go without saying, having great work ethic. On my radio show, all I do is interview successful entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs. And the one thing that's never missing from those that are uber successful is great work ethic. And this is the frustration for many of us who are on the quest to try to lose weight. There are so many products out there and things that are marketed to us that will help us lose weight fast. At the end of the day, my doctor always continues to say, and it's very frustrating because I hate it, you got to eat right and you got to exercise. There's no two ways about it. Those are the things that you must do. There are no substitutes. And in the same way, that's what work ethic is like. There's no way around it. You have to have a tremendous work ethic, especially in our industry. But if you're going to be a successful real estate entrepreneur, it comes down to your work ethic. And so here's a couple questions. What do you do when you are in the office and or throughout the day? I visit all the offices, Todd. I see agents, and there are agents who are working the phones. There are agents that are doing it. And to be honest, I walk by some agent, I'm like, I wonder what they're doing. I mean, they're here for 4 or 5 hours. What have they done? Time is not work ethic. It's what you do during that time. And how would your day change if you actually had a boss that you had to answer to each and every day?
Wow, that's a big one, because most of the time people would quit. No, seriously.
Or get fired.
Well, I mean, I think that's the fallacy. There's a lot of things about being a realtor that get you into the business, such as freedom of, flexibility with time, big incomes, all the big thing. Because you see a few of that. What you see is the realtor that helped you with your house, sell your house and make 10 or 12, 14,000. And you're like, wow, I'd like to do that. That, look, all they did. They don't see what we do behind the scenes. But more important is, what do you do behind the scenes? What do you do every day to help your business remain sustainable and keep going? And I think that's what we're talking about, Mike, is that you have to be regimented enough. You have to, it's what you do every day. That, I guess you could say, it's what you do when you don't want to do it. I guess that's kind of what it boils down to. It's, in other words, is, you need to lead generate every day, but nobody really wants to do it. But those that do it and do it consistently have a better business.
And we always talk about, agents don't want to cold call. They don't want to work the phones. And it's hard enough for us to convince agents that you need to be spending a couple hours a day doing this in order to be successful. But if you went to work at a call center getting paid $10 an hour, guess what you would be doing for 8 hours every single day?
Yeah, for $80 a day.
So, all right, number 2, tenacity. A great quote by Steve Jobs: I'm convinced that about half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. You can't survive in this industry unless you are tenacious. And what do I mean by tenacious? One, do you follow up? I mean, I pretty much have a rule. I will keep going after clients until they use some sort of naughty word to tell me to go away and tell me that they're not interested. And until you do that, I'm going to continue to follow up with you, because I understand that tenacity is a big part of being successful. How do you handle rejection? When an agent tells you no, or not an agent, when a client tells you no, or you lose a deal, or something bad really happens in a real estate transaction, because it will. How do you handle that, and how do you move forward? And, one of the things that, when I look back on my career and some of the different things that I've done, I've always attributed to, whatever type of success that I've achieved in life is for my understanding and my tenet of, I just keep going. I just keep doing it. And I interviewed one CEO of a pretty big real estate firm here in the Valley. And he says, if you want to be successful in real estate, just do it for 20 years. You just keep going. It's the tenacity.
It's the failing forward. It's the, I did something today. How did it work? If you don't monitor what you're doing and you don't track it so that you can see whether your effort is turning into some kind of result, then you're probably successful in spite of yourself. And wouldn't it be nice for you to learn a system that works for you, that you can duplicate and replicate, that helps do double or triple your income? It's like what happens when you're knocking on doors and you come up and there's no solicitation sign. Well, do you knock on the door? Somebody goes, no, if I put that up there, it's because I don't want to be bothered. Well, you know what? Knock on the door. When the person comes to, didn't you see that no solicit sign? Your reply should be something like, well, isn't that for weak agents? For people that hear that rejection and go away. Life's 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. And the difference is, once you know what the numbers are that you need to achieve to be successful, to hit the numbers, to hit the goals that you're looking for, then you have to stay focused on those things, and don't let clients derail you. Don't let anybody derail you.
All right, and the third behavioral trait that you must have to be a successful real estate entrepreneur is to be accountable. The biggest challenge for us as real estate agents is we are on individual islands. We don't have the accountability. We don't have the boss. We don't have anyone telling us what to do, checking our hours, and whatever the case is. And it's human nature it's human nature to have a difficult time holding ourselves accountable. And that's why I think so many real estate agents don't succeed, because there is a lack of accountability. And like for me, I can't work from home. Okay, the TV and the refrigerator are a constant calling, and I don't even say it jokingly. It truly is. I've recognized the fact. That's why I need to have a physical office and to go and to go through the motions of, hey, I'm showing up to work. It helps me become more accountable. And if I'm paying rent for a space, there's definitely a lot of accountability there. But it's hard to hold ourselves accountable. So my challenge is, if you are, especially if you're new, but it doesn't matter where you're at, consider a team or a coach. We got great teams here at West USA. We've got phenomenal coaching programs. All you got to do is talk to your office manager about who's a coach there, because I guarantee you, part of their responsibility is to hold you accountable. If you say you're going to do something, they're going to hold you accountable, or consider an accountability partner. We don't talk business and talk shop too much with some of the other agents in our office because we view them as the enemy and the competition. Right. You are your own competition. That's the competition. You are your own competition. So maybe join forces with someone. It doesn't mean you have to join a team or whatever the case is, but talk about goals, talk about business plans, talk about the X's and the O's, and hold each other accountable, because without accountability, you will struggle to survive in this industry.
Yeah, and think about the people that are successful. And, again, I'm going to go back to someone who's had a rocky road, and some of us like him, some of us don't. Tiger Woods, during the period of time when he was the best in his game, and probably still, but the fact is he had like 5 coaches. He had a backswing coach, he had a health coach, he had a pitching coach, a putting coach, all these different things. And it wasn't because he wasn't good. It's because his goal was to refine what he was doing to be the best, or to be better and have better outcomes and things of that nature.
He just needed a marriage coach. If he would have had that,
if he'd had that, he probably would have been okay.
It would have been just okay. All right. So these are our Mike's 3-pack, 3 behavioral traits that you must have in order to be a successful real estate entrepreneur. So moving right along, let's talk about a few announcements. We are launching our what we call our Broker Roundtable webinar series, monthly broker webinars that we're going to be going over issues of broker issues facing real estate agents. And so this Friday is our first one. We've got our own Bob's going to be here to be part of that. Michael Hofstetter and Jerry Russell from Realty Execs is going to be part of that. And the topic this Friday is procuring cause. Who gets paid? If you have no idea what procuring cause is, and you're like, I had never heard that term, you need to sign up for it.
And this is a big misunderstanding of what procuring cause is to begin with, so it's a good one.
So for instance, here's the scenario. You as an agent provide a list, send your client a list of potential properties through the MLS, give them the Planos, whatever the case is. They're driving down the road. You've provided them the list. They're driving down the road. One of those houses there's an open house on. Your client walks in, buys the house from the agent holding the open house. Who gets paid? Who's the procuring cause? These are the scenarios that we're going to talk about this Friday. I'm not going to tell you the answer.
People going to have a chance to ask their questions.
Yep, and you can ask the question. So you're going to want to go to brokerroundtableaz.com to register. Just because you are registered for this webinar does not mean you're automatically registered for that one. We're going to send you the link right now. So join us this Friday at 10 o'clock. Also, we have a couple of CE opportunities for you this week. Both of them are going to be this Thursday, July 28th. The first one is going to be in the morning from 9:30 to 12:30 at our surprise location. Instructor is Larry Hibbler. This will also qualify you for the required NAR ethics training. We're going to send you a link to that, so get registered for that as well. And then that afternoon, might as well just make a day out of it. You can join our designated broker, Dale Hillard, at the corporate office from 1 to 4 for some additional CE hours. We're going to send you the links to that as well. Get signed up. Make it part of... Might as well get your CE hours while learning some informative stuff. I maintain these are the things that as agents we need to learn and understand. And then lastly, our next React certified training course begins on August 8th next month. So you want to get registered for that. If you're unfamiliar with how to set up a Facebook business page, use Google to its max. And more importantly, in my opinion, is learn how to use the CRM and so forth. You want to register for this. We're going to send you a link to that. You can find it on the dashboard as well. So get registered. We do that each and every month. So with that being said, let's move right along, because it seems like, Jesi, more and more agents, not just West USA agents, but more and more agents across the valley are finding themselves in hot water for a variety of reasons. And I don't know if we understand the repercussions of how much trouble we can get in. And I'm pretty confident that if I get brought before our commissioner, that I'm not going to be able to cite ignorance. I've met her, and I probably do not want to cite ignorance with her.
So, as you mentioned earlier, this is a 3-part series. I thought let's go ahead and cover what I consider the top 10 legal hotline issues. This is changing. It's a list that's ever evolving. As a matter of fact, this month I decided to drop one item off and add one. And so just an aside, FYI, buyer contingency addendum is hot right now. Mm-hmm. Lots of confusion, lots of people who have no idea how that addendum works. So,
all right, so then we'll make sure definitely for next month, we'll make sure we cover that one since it's so hot. So let's talk about advertising, because I mean, there are, again, ignorance. You can't cite ignorance. And I think sometimes, and I'll say it as a whole, the real estate industry does a disservice, I think, to agents. We do our 90 hours. We don't learn a lot about actually doing real estate.
Right.
We get our license, and then we now have the license to go mess with people's, retirements, nest eggs, kids' college educations, and they're not necessarily equipped to fully understand everything. And then they find themselves in trouble, especially in the area of advertising.
So with the commissioner's rules, they're pretty basic. They're not in depth for a reason, because they can look at each individual scenario and decide how they're going to apply their rule. So today I thought I would talk about one that has been popping up frequently on the legal hotline, and that is advertising in a name other than that which you are licensed under. So I thought I would bring one of my articles. Well, I brought 3 articles today to cover, which will encompass the scenarios I'm talking about. So in this scenario, the facts are a broker was contacted by the Department of Real Estate notifying her that they would be conducting an audit at her brokerage. That happens randomly. Not that she did anything wrong. It was just her turn for an audit. During the audit, the auditor...
I'd rather have a root canal. 3 of them.
During the audit, the auditor discovered that some licensees listed on the broker's website did not use their full name. So as an example, instead of the name Michael Smith, it just showed up as Mike Smith on their webpage. So the question was, if a licensee is listed on a website, must the licensee's full name be used? The auditor said the answer is yes. According to Commissioner's Rule R4 28-302 subsection I, that administrative rule says the department shall not license an employing broker under more than one DBA name, and a person shall not conduct or promote real estate business under any name other than the name under which the person is licensed. If you have your name on a website as Mike Smith rather than Michael Smith, you are violating that rule.
Now, the profile online used to allow an agent to go in to your licensing portal and update your name and your address and things of that nature. Well, I don't remember, but it was within the last year, they've removed your ability to add a nickname. So it's back to the way it was like in the 80s, where if you're Michael Weinstein and you want to be known as Mike as a realtor or advertise as Mike, you've got to reapply for a brand new license under Michael, in quotes now, Mike Weinstein, so that you have the ability to use that other name.
Well, and for those of you who don't recall, I think we've mentioned before, I have a Facebook page, which you can find under my name, Jesi, last name Wolnik. And I've posted this article in recent weeks, and I provide a link. There is a link. It's Form LI-235, and you use it to submit a change of personal information to the department. So it's just a change request. And again, you can make that submission and should be fine. Again, as long as it's Mike instead of Michael. I mean, they do
but if you want
use
to
a
use
level
both,
of.
you've got to have it in the one, like, his name's Fred, but he goes by Chip. So
Yes.
if so again, it's nothing that's not Frederick and you go as Fred. It's just a total abstract name. You've got to have the license say that you have the right to use that
And the department gets to decipher what they think they need to do for education. So Mike instead of Michael, it was likely a $1,000 fine.
Yeah.
However, let's say there was a individual whose name was John Rosanowski, and he decided to call himself John Rose because who can spell Rosanowski? I'm making that name up. And so he was John Rose. He had an actual hearing because the department said that's really nowhere near what your name is. So you've got to be very careful. If you're advertising under any name other than that which you are licensed, you need to submit the form so that your nickname can be approved so you can advertise with that name.
Yeah, and so just to clarify it, there is you just go on the Department of Real Estate website.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, because I personally did it after I got reprimanded by you last month.
Privately.
You've got to want to find the form. It's not simple to find. I'm going to just go out and say that. As a matter of fact, one of my agents just called the Department of Real Estate and said, can you email it to me? But it is there. And so it's not necessarily applying for a brand new license. It's just a matter of a form you have to submit. And what's nice about it is you can submit it online. You can attach it to the Department of Real Estate website and
through their message center.
For their message center to get approved. My question is, and as a matter of fact, I have the form afterwards so that you can help me with it, Jesi.
Yep.
Is I am, and I know so many agents are, I am a PLC.
Yeah.
So the Department of Real Estate recognizes me as Michael P. Weinstein,
yes.
PLC.
Yes.
Currently, do I need to be marketing myself as Michael P. Weinstein, PLC?
No, the department does not want you advertising the PLC. That's just for your commission payments purposes only. Your name is Michael P. Weinstein. So that would be how you would advertise.
Okay. That makes it simple.
Okay.
So then besides, and you just mentioned, and I want to be clear here too, because you just mentioned websites, but this is, it's not
Anything.
Just limited to web, it's business cards and
Craigslist, your car sign writer, anywhere you're putting your name out where the public can view it needs to be your licensed name.
Okay, so there's a lot of agents right now going, oh, crap.
Yeah. Okay, so point of clarification too is, Michael P. Weinstein. So he gets licensed as Michael P. Weinstein, then he has to use his middle initial every time. If you turn around and it's Michael Weinstein, or, at what time is there a difference? Even with middle initials?
I can't give you that answer because that's for the commissioner to decide. But in general, the rule is licensed.
Well, just like a credit card. If it has your middle initial and you're supposed to use it.
Can I go with Mr. Wonderful?
I don't think so.
If you put Mr. Wonderful in parentheses and the department was able to have licensed you under that, probably.
Or Meta World Peace.
Yeah.
That won't pass your board.
Yeah, but you have to. That's a good point. It also matters on what your broker wants you to use it sometimes as well.
So, okay, and joking aside, I mean, the commissioner's office is handing out $1,000 fines for this violation. So it's
I mean,
really
keep in mind, I can't quote that as always the fine.
Right.
up
That's
to. Then
their
let's go with up
Well, it
to.
could be an escalation. It could be even a starting point. But
It result in a hearing,
Yeah.
which could be who knows what their decision would be. So I don't want to put that in mind. I just happen to know that at least at
that
one
situation.
point there was a $1,000 fine.
So let's take it serious. Yeah, let's take it serious, and because and take a look at, everybody can go on the Department of Real Estate. You may not even know what your license says for your name, and look it up online, and look at your business card, and look at your real estate signs, and you'll know whether you're in violation. You don't need anyone to tell you, and just remedy it. Just fix the problem.
Yep.
And then if you are, then take some of that saved money and send us some snacks in the run. So, all right. So let's talk about inspection reports. This being a legal hot topic.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, I could go on and on about inspection reports. So I'm going to focus us today just on whether or not a seller and or listing agent should share a previous inspection report. Okay. So again, let me go through my scenario. Facts. During the inspection period, the buyer retained a home inspector who produced a written report identifying a property defect of which the seller was previously unaware. Pursuant to lines 194 through 195 of the Arizona Residential Resale Real Estate Purchase Contract, the buyer provided the seller with a copy of the inspection report and then timely canceled the purchase contract based on the results of the home inspection. Thereafter, the seller entered into a contract with a new buyer. Question: must the seller provide the new buyer with a physical copy of the first buyer's home inspection report?
Well, let's backtrack here.
Okay.
Because I think some agents don't know the answer to the question. If you represent the buyer, are you required to provide the seller with the inspection report?
Right, which I pointed out, contract lines 194 to
okay.
195 state you must provide at no cost a copy to the seller.
All right. So then now you asking me the question for the next scenario, because this is setting me up for failure here.
I don't want to set you up for failure, Mike. Let's just go on to this. Okay, so the answer is no, you don't have to provide a copy of the inspection report to the second buyer. Although sellers have a duty to disclose known facts materially affecting the value of the property that are not readily observable, the seller is not obligated to provide the new buyer with a copy of the first buyer's home inspection report. In fact, the better practice, we believe, is for the seller to update their seller's property disclosure statement to ensure that it includes the information contained on the first inspection report and then provide the updated SPUDs to the new buyer. Although Arizona statute does not preclude the seller from conveying the actual report to the second buyer, doing so may lead the second buyer, to rely on that report and not obtain their own independent inspection. And now you've got potential issues with a lawsuit,
time,
right? So since the first home inspector owes no duty to that second buyer, it is best for the buyer to obtain their own home inspection. And again, this is something you can discuss as an issue with your broker. There are going to be those buyer's agents who say, what are you trying to hide? Why won't you give us a copy of that inspection? But really, as a risk management issue, you don't want to give a copy in general because it could cause that buyer to rely on that inspection report, which creates possibly a duty. And when you get sued, it's negligence, duty, breach, causation, damages. So we don't want to open that door. But if you spoke with your broker and they said, we're willing to provide a copy of that inspection report only after you've had an inspection done on your own, and then some type of disclosure that we're providing it for informational purposes only, that's a discussion you want to have with your broker. It's not anything I'm saying you should do or I'm encouraging you to do, but you've got some ability to discuss options with your broker.
So the answer, Mike, would be that the best practice would be to say, no, I'm not going to necessarily provide you with that, but I've already discussed this with the seller and we've updated our SPDS.
And if the seller says, okay, but I fixed all those things, so I don't want to update the SPUDs. Nope, you still need to update the SPUDs because it was a known issue and now you've addressed it.
I'm going to add a little caveat to this, only because I had this question the other day, and I know the answer because I called our brokers. But I think a lot of confusion out there, and this is in the area of the appraisal. Is the buyer required to provide the seller a copy of the appraisal? Now, I know the answer, but I'm going to let you steal the thunder here.
Maybe.
Oh, well, that wasn't the answer I got.
Good lawyer's answer.
Well, the answer that I got, that
Maybe it
there is
depends.
nowhere in the
Yes.
contract
Well,
that requires the buyer to.
that's a correct answer. However, there are two potential answers to your question. Number one, if the purchase price was $200,000 and the buyer notifies the seller and says, hey, the appraisal's in, everything's great. And you get those sellers who insist, I want a copy of the appraisal, and they try the spin that it's an inspection or a report. And we say, no, it's an opinion of value. In that instance, there is no requirement per the contract to share a copy of that appraisal. That's answer number one. Answer number two, what if you have a purchase price of $200,000 and the appraisal comes in at $180,000 and the buyer says, appraisal didn't come in, I'm canceling. Under the covenant of good faith and fair dealing, which the Arizona courts have said is implied in all contracts, that seller can now say, I would like to see a copy of that appraisal to make sure it really did come in low, and you're validly canceling. So answer number two.
Okay. All right. So just rest assured, our broker answered it right in our perspective scenario. So, but okay, we did have a question that came in here back to advertising. So I thought I would just throw it out there. The question is this, because we get a lot of these. If I want to advertise on Craigslist another agent's properties which are already listed in the MLS, can I do that as long as I show in the ad courtesy of the listing broker? Or do I have to call and get written approval from that broker or the other agent?
That's probably not an answer that I want to cover right now. That's a broker answer because it does go into code of ethics, which I'm not discussing here.
Well,
So I'm probably going to have to defer.
Our 428504, which is the Advertising Administrative Code, basically says that a realtor broker may advertise other brokers' listings, provided they provide the disclosure that it's listed by the other broker. However, the Code of Ethics, which is a different thing under Article 12, basically says that you have to have permission. So again, the proper answer is defer to your broker when you're in that scenario.
All right, so let's. Sorry for bringing that one up. Let's talk about the Plano.
All right. So
or the Plano, I should say.
Yep. And this one creeps in every now and then, and I think it is more prevalent up north, but let's discuss it regardless. Facts. A seller lists her house for sale. On the MLS Plano sheet, the listing information provides that there is a dishwasher, disposal, dryer, electric, oven range, electric, washer, water heater, electric. A buyer sends an offer to the seller. Page 2 of the offer to the seller reads, line 45, additional existing personal property included in the sale if checked. And it says refrigerator, washer, dryer, as described. And then line 46, the buyer's agent wrote in, as per MLS data sheet. So in other words, they're stating whatever's on the MLS is what we're asking for. The seller accepted the offer. At close of escrow, the seller moved out and took her washer and dryer with her. So the question is, did the seller agree to leave the washer and dryer per the contract agreement? Answer, probably not. Right? A contract for the sale of real property must be in writing pursuant to the statute of frauds. That's ARS 44-101 section 6. So the MLS is not a part of the contract. The MLS is simply an advertisement soliciting offers. Pursuant to the contract, the only items of personal property that convey with the real property are those items listed in Section 1G. However, even with the reference to the MLS data sheet in your offer, the MLS data sheet is not part of the contract, and therefore the buyer and seller should have clarified what the buyer's offer included in writing. And as a side note, I point out always when I get calls like this, the buyer advisory put out by the Department of Real Estate states specifically on page 1 that the MLS printout is similar to an advertisement. So neither the listing agreement nor the printout is part of the purchase contract between the buyer and seller. If it's not in the contract, it has not been negotiated.
Yeah, and so really the lesson learned here is is as a buyer's agent, and you're walking through the house, and you decide that we're going to write an offer on this house, walk through it a second time. Let's make a list of all the things that we want included and include that on the contract.
Exactly.
And it gets even a little more hectic than that, because, sometimes there's, we deal with items of a fixture and how they're affixed, and you deal with things that have been built for a specific area and a particular property, but yet it's movable. So, there's all these additional issues. So I think the point of clarification would be similar to what you said, Mike. However, it's anything that, even if it says curtains, in the MLS, where it says that, curtain and drapery rods convey, because it's built into the contract to do that. You still should, if you think there's a possibility because you see that the bedspread matches the curtain, you probably should just be smart and write in there, curtains that match the bedspread shall convey, or not. Either way, it's an item of negotiation, but somebody's got to put their best foot forward.
And a common one with those folks who deal in horse property, there is corrals or horse fencing that is movable. It's temporary. Mm-hmm. And so I get this call more frequently than I would think I would get it. And that is whether that horse fencing conveyed. And in one instance, it belonged to the tenant, which we go back to the seller cannot convey that which they do not own. So if there's anything your client is very interested in having, I sold a house once many years ago, and there was a fake pink ficus tree in the dining room, and the buyer asked for that pink tree, and we had a good laugh. My seller was like, if they want the pink tree, they can have it.
But that's a good agent,
need
making
it,
sure that's
right?
Yeah.
Right. If you need it, put it in the contract.
Yeah, my kids will convey. All right, Jesi, we appreciate it as always. Phenomenal material. Looking forward to next month already. If you'd like some information on how to get a hold of Jesi, or you would like a link to her Facebook page, go ahead and just email me at webinar@westusa.com. I've followed the page. It's phenomenal material. And
you should all know, Mike, you said it earlier, but I don't think that people really understood when you said that, she and you communicated. Jesi is also on the AAR hotline, which brokers, not agents, but brokers, have she's the person they call. So this is good advice.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jesi.
Yep.
All right, Bob. Follow that.
Yeah.
Top that.
Just say, to all the things she said, don't do that. And you cover it.
I believe that. Let me give you another one that just came in yesterday. The other broker is involved in it. Our guy sold a house, and in the backyard, there's a car frame sitting back there. So our guy, Chris, he called up and he says, when are you going to get that thing out of here? He says, well, you didn't ask for it in the Benzer. Duh. Who have we got on the other side, I wonder? So I told him to quote the line in the contract, and I gave it to him, I don't know, 174, what was somewhere in there. And it's to be cleared out. So that was interesting. One of those things that come off there yesterday.
How about the debris, Jesi? There's sometimes like stuff left in the backyard that really ends up being quote unquote debris. Sometimes it's like a lawnmower, in this case, a chassis to a car,
or a mother-in-law.
And so, just because a seller left behind personal property, go for it.
So, right, as Bob pointed out, the contract says personal property will be removed. The seller's already agreed to that. But his scenario was even one step further complicated, because a car frame still is licensed with the DMV. And so nobody can just get rid of that. You've got to file for an abandoned title, etc., if that gets left behind by the seller. So there could be issues depending on how much of the car is left.
Yeah, and if the seller doesn't want to take it out, you just pull it out into the street and call the police.
I go back to the old days. Hey, boy, get that thing out of here. I'll whoop you.
Get that out of there. Yeah. Well, we had a case a long time ago, not a case, but a situation where, an agent, there was a lawnmower in the backyard, and it was one of those lock lawnmowers, it's like you see at a high school, and, and they're worth about $8,000 used, and so anyway, it just wasn't operating. So, he called the buyer called the seller and said, get it out of the backyard. And then, no, it wasn't a spa, Mike. It was tractor. But anyway, what ended up happening was the guy decided to go have it fixed. So he had a guy come over and fix it and get it running. Spent about $250, $300 getting it running, and the guy was using it to mow his yard. And finally, the seller comes back about 2 weeks later and says, "All right, I'm here to pick up my lawnmower." And the guy's like, "Whoa, wait a minute! I got like $250 invested in this thing. Guess what? Too bad." That's the seller's property. You got to give it back to them.
That's right. That opens up a whole nother can of worms. If the seller leaves behind property, how long do they have to come back and get it? You can't self-help and just remove it.
That's right. Nor sell it for a profit. Yep.
Wow. Somebody called yesterday. I don't know if they got a hold of you or not, but somebody called up and said there's been a semi-truck parked out here in Sun City. It's been there for 4 days, and I live next door, and I want you to get it out of here. Well, he's talking to me.
Yeah, that's a good one, right?
Hey, you talking to me? Yeah. So, I didn't put no semi-truck out there. Yeah, but one of your clients is moving in next door, and one of your guys has rented it out to him and everything, and you get it. I said, whoa, hey, man. So I did get a hold of the agent. He was there at the time. He'd been there for 4 days, and he was there checking out the place, and he says, "Don't worry, Bob, I'll get it out of here." I didn't want to drive to Sun City. Does anybody remember out there about 20 years ago, we got a gal out there at Superstition Springs Golf Course that sells a lot of lots and a lot of property out there. She really does a job. Suzanne Raybold. You all know her. About 20 years ago, she arranged for it, and they just built that golf course. Nicholas built it and said, bring any of your agents out here that want to come out here and play golf. So I got a bunch of people together because I was working in the Mesa office at that time. I got 104 people to go out there and play golf on them. Of course, there was about 111 out there. My wife went out and bought me brand new golf clubs, shoes, and all kinds of stuff. I don't play golf. I play pool. Buy me a pool table, honey. That's the only time I ever played golf. But I got 104 people out there. Unbelievable. And I was thinking about that just the other day. Suzanne Raybold, she's quite an agent. The solar panel system, we're getting a lot of stuff on that lately. They want a form. We don't have a form. So if they call me, I can get you a form. I have one on my computer. It's not approved by anybody. It's just a form that I made up. It doesn't even say West USA.
I've got 8 of those. Just pay me $39.95 and you can have a form for anything you need.
Anything you want. But be sure and call me because we need to know. We need to know that you're going into this. Make it contingent upon the assumption of that loan. Otherwise, you've got a problem there, like loss of earnest money and a few other things. Dale, you got a strange call the other day. Matter of fact, you were talking to the commissioner, I think, weren't you?
Is this still about solar panels, Bob?
This
are you switching?
I'm switching.
Okay, let me just bring something up. NAR has recently said that solar panels are considered a stigmatism to a home, not necessarily an item of value. And as a result, there's multiple issues, roofing issues when they're removed. There's lease issues, there's ownership issues, there's replacement issues, there's useful life issues. There's so many things. My recommendation would be to, I just think every agent should go out and get educated on solar, not on the benefits and costs, but the legality issues of it. Jesi, do you want to just bring anything to the table? Is there anything that you know that you'd like to ad-lib to this while you're here?
No, not really. I mean, you've covered it. Just what Bob said. You've got to address that solar lease in the initial contract negotiation. If you know there is a solar lease, you must address it in the contract up front. Otherwise, you're going to be calling the broker hotline with your broker trying to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah. Dale, this is really interesting. You won't believe this. You just won't freaking believe it. Dale, he's got a good one here.
Yeah, I didn't talk to the commissioner, but she evidently appeared at our Mesa office. And somewhere along the way in the discussion, she related the fact that somebody came to the office to see her personally, demanded to see her only. She gave audience to the person, and he wanted to complain that an agent had hired him and had not paid him, and he wanted her to go after that agent. And she said, "Well, what did she hire you for?" "To take her 24-hour renewal credit classes." He had been hired to take her 24-hour classes and was wanting to complain about the other agent, and he does it in front of the commissioner herself.
My biggest complaint about the agent is not the violation of the rules or anything like that. That agent, because I was there when the commissioner told the story, that agent sent emails to the person that they hired. So he had copies of emails that, yes, he was hired to take the 24 hours. And so this agent put it in writing. So she said, "Well, I definitely can't get your money back, but I can make sure that this agent gets taken care of."
Yeah. Did she tell what the agent penalty was?
Did, but I would just be making it up at the top of my head because I don't recall.
Okay. Yeah.
But I can do that.
I understand that the license was suspended and she was fined, and I don't know the dollar amounts, but that's what I heard at least.
Yeah, I want to say, I know the part of the punishment, I know part of it was had to take the 24 hours over again, an additional 24 hours in the classroom. So now we're up to 48 hours with half of those in the classroom.
Yeah. And she's not going to hire this guy to do it, I don't suppose. No. So anyway, that was the story of the week as far as I was concerned.
So you can't, I mean, and it's tempting. It's tempting for agents. It really is. Just, hire a family member, whatever the case is, but you can't do it.
It's tempting?
Not for me.
Why would it be tempting? That's dishonest. I can't believe that it would be tempting to anybody to be dishonest. Of course, our prisons are full. I guess I don't know.
I can tell you the commissioner's opinion is you can never have too much education, because I recall when I was in law school and I'm taking a semester-long class on property law, a semester-long contract class, etc. I did write a letter to the Department of Real Estate to see if they would consider allowing me to waive any of my renewal hours, because I just didn't have the time to get into renewal classes for my real estate license because law school is all consuming. And their response was, "Sorry, but no, we think you can never have enough education."
Wow.
You didn't think about hiring somebody at the time?
No, I did
Okay.
not. I found the way to get it worked out.
I work for food, Dale.
That's it.
Here's a guy doing an inspection, and he gets almost through, and he finds out that the gas is off. He can't do the gas inspections and the different things. He says, "So what do I do now, Bob?" I said, "Send a cure notice. Send it out immediately. Today, send a cure notice. And your time stops. How many days have you used up?" He says, 6 days I've used up. "Well, your time will stop now until that gas gets on. Then your time will begin again, and you go on through with the rest of the inspection." Am I correct in that, Jesse?
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a question mark. So I've had, of course, many calls like this. And I can tell you on the Legal Hotline, we have articles similar where it says the buyer went to do their inspection and the seller had no utilities on. And of course, we've cited that per the contract, you have 10 days to inspect the property with utilities on. And so until those utilities are all on, your inspection period doesn't begin. So it's arguable they didn't have just 4 days, they had their entire 10 days still. So it's best to put something down in an addendum. Buyer and seller understand that the sellers failed to put the gas on, therefore buyer shall have X amount of additional days. It's just best to not guess and communicate and put it in an addendum.
Okay, add something to it. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Good idea there.
I wanted to take a moment to say thanks, Jesse, for your coming and being with us. I know you were here a few weeks ago, and if you're coming back again, well, we'll welcome you again. It's always nice to have you here, and we love the fact that we can call you and talk to you personally on the phone as brokers, too. So thank you for being there available for us.
My pleasure.
And for me, it's nice to have somebody who actually knows what they're talking about.
Well, you have the brokers all the time, Mike, so let's go there. Is it Mike or Michael now, according to the license?
I'll let you know in about 48 hours.
I may let you know sooner.
Jesse, what's your website again?
Well, I have a Facebook page where I post
Oh,
articles
Facebook.
frequently, and it's my name spelled out. Just search my name, JesiWolnik. And I post articles sometimes based on frequency of calls that week, or sometimes if I've got a broker with a specific issue, I'll tell them, hey, it's easier sometimes just to pull up my Facebook page than search through the Legal Hotline archives. And so I'll post an article as a favor for a broker so they can find it conveniently.
Well, we had a question come up, and Michael puts a deal in there. I don't know what it is, but I answered it, a legal question. Oh my goodness, did I get a lot of response on that? It was, can I issue a cure notice after close of escrow?
Aha.
So I said, yeah. If somebody swung with a refrigerator and took it, you can issue a cure notice at that point in time. Well, somebody else said, no. And it went on and on to where it became about this much stuff in there. Nobody can see that, of course, but it was interesting on Michael's site.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Jesi. Thank you. And she's going to be back in August. Really, and I'm going to concur with what Dale said. We really appreciate your time. We know how valuable your time is, and appreciate your commitment to coming here once a month. And if you want some information on how to reach her Facebook page, go ahead and email me at webinar@WestUSA. Thank you, Dale, for stopping by and gracing us with your presence. Bob, as always, thank you. We ask you to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/West USA Realty. We leave you with a quote of the day from Auguste Rodin. Nothing is a waste of time if you use the experience wisely. Appreciate you joining us today. Go out and sell a home.
Wow. Thank you, Jesse.
But not for yourself.
But yeah.